Kingdom Hearts 2. I remember when I first laid my eyes on this series. I was at a Barnes & Nobles. I remember flipping through and seeing Sora had all these new forms and this new character, Roxas. At the time, I didn't beat Chain of Memories, so I didn't know who this was. Was he a new party member or something? Well, I really wanted to get this game when it came out in 2005. However, I didn't really have an excuse to get it. It was too far away from my birthday or even Christmas, but lo and behold, my dad was ever so gracious enough to get me the game and threw it at me while I was playing the first game. That first sitting of Kingdom Hearts 2 I played for a very long time. So long, in fact, that I fell asleep playing in Beast Castle. To this day, it still sounds sour to me. This game, like the first, would see a remix version in Japan on the PS2. This remix didn't hit the US until Kingdom Hearts 2.5 came out on the PS3 in 2014, though most of my time playing was with the first version. It was one of those games I just goof around in Twilight Town and in the other worlds. Since it was the next console title, Square Enix decided to go all out for it and went above and beyond for this one. With 2 games under their belt, Disney let them have more properties to use at their disposal, and they gave Mickey a much bigger role. So, let's pal around with Sora and the gang with Kingdom Hearts 2. So the game starts off with a new protagonist, Roxas, which, as we saw at the end of the last game, is in the middle of his summer break. He exits this game's tutorial, allowing you to get a feel of the game, but oh no, trouble strikes! Apparently someone is going around town stealing stuff and blaming Roxas and friends. So now we play through the game as Roxas worries about things like summer homework, making money to go to the beach, the struggle tournament, and these white-looking jumpsuit enemies that are going around that only Roxas can see. Oh, there you are, Nomura. Things were looking too sane for a moment. So now he can wield the Keyblade, the blade that has commitment issues. Afterwards, Axel shows up. Yeah, he was the only one to survive from the last game and is telling Roxas to come back to join the organization. Roxas has no idea what he's talking about. Then Diz shows up to keep Roxas in this world that, in all actuality, Diz created. You see, before Kingdom Hearts 2, Roxas was Sora's nobody. Quick recap, if you didn't see the last video, when a strong-willed person dies, they create a Heartless and a nobody who just exists. So when Sora died, he created Roxas, also the damsel Naminé, which, as I explained in my Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories review, Sora had Kairi's heart cause I'll go more into detail when we get into the next game since it's centered around the concept of these guys. So Roxas was an organization member, got tired of their stuff because reasons. They got hunted down by your boy Riku, who kidnapped him, knocked him out, and threw him in a virtual world thanks to Diz. Roxas finds out about this, gets rightfully pissed, and rejoins with Sora because, well, he was done with his summer vacation. Yep, that was just the tutorial. For the real game, Sora and the gang are back, and they don't know why they were asleep and only know the events up to the end of Kingdom Hearts 1, which is great for anyone who skipped Chain of Memories, because you can understand exactly how Sora feels when anyone in the game mentions the stuff from the last game.
Huh? 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 What? Excuse me?
With the king's help, they are tasked with going to see the Keyblade Master, Yen Sid, the king's sensei. Yen Sid congratulates the 3 heroes on their adventure that they just finished, but their job isn't done yet, on top of the Heartless still being around, just not as huge as last time, which I call shenanigans considering later, but whatever. There's also the threat of the Nobodies, who are being led by Organization 13, formerly known as The Organization, which 5, technically 6, have been taken care of, but Organization 7 doesn't sound as cool. These are elite nobodies who held on to themselves when they died, but from what we are told, have no emotions or hearts, so they want Kingdom Hearts to give them hearts to become real people again. In all honesty, the whole point of these guys is they just want to be whole people again.
That's good.
But they have to kill a bunch of people to make Kingdom Hearts.
That's bad.
However, they achieve this by taking care of Heartless, who captured people's hearts.
That's good.
But instead of letting the hearts go back to people they belong to, they kept them to make Kingdom Hearts.
That's bad.
However, the leader gave the organization members a new name and purpose for his plots, but to also give him a reason to be.
Can I go now?
So, with some new threads and powers, Sora is off to go stomping the remaining members of the organization, take care of the Heartless, and, oh yeah, go find Riku. Sora and co go to many different worlds and find out most people kind of forgot about him for a year, thanks to the last game, and all remembered him at once, the only exception being Kairi, and she couldn't even remember his name.
You don't remember my name? Thanks a lot, Kairi.
The girl you really care about, it's not me. It's her.
But then who is she? Because I can't think of her name. If she's so special to me, then why can't I remember?
Double standard!
Some worlds are revisit, and others we are seeing for the first time. These worlds are Agrabah, Halloween Town, Olympus Coliseum, oh, and Atlantica. Don't worry about that one, you can skip this Atlantica too. The new worlds being Land of Dragons from Mulan, Port Royal from Pirates of the Caribbean, Disney Castle, Beast Castle from Beauty and the Beast, and the Pride Lands from The Lion King. Also some newish worlds like Disney Castle has a time-traveled world, Timeless River, in which everything is all black and white from the era of Steamboat Willie. Hollow Bastion returns, with everything being under construction going back to what it was before Maleficent took over Radiant Garden, which is what the world was originally called. This place has two worlds, one a returning 100-acre woods, and a new world called Space Paranoids from the original Tron. And in returning places like Halloween Town having Christmas Town, Olympus Coliseum has the Underworld. Oh yeah, technically the Mysterious Tower is a world where Jens Sid resides, but it doesn't have much besides some extra goodies to collect. But with all these worlds, once again, the Disney worlds don't add much to the overall story, they just have a lot of foreshadowing. But to this game's credit, it does handle it better than the first game, and a hell of a lot better than Chain of Memories, having the organization members be a threat to a majority of the worlds in the second half of the adventure. So Maleficent comes back with her new recruit, Pete, and her gang of Heartless trying to find powerful people to turn into Heartless and make a powerful enemy to make her a threat again. But to be honest, that's going to be a running trend of her going to be a threat for the remainder of these games. So, Pete shows up a lot to be a nuisance, but no one really takes him too seriously. All his fights are very easy to take care of. At the halfway point, Sora and Co come back to Hollow Bastion for them to get a bombshell dropped on them, as well as the players, thanks to a computer and Mickey, that Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, isn't actually Ansem, but the Heartless of a man named Xehanort, and when Xehanort killed himself to make himself stronger, he told people he was Ansem, and his nobody is also the leader of the organization, Xemnas.
We went through all that trouble to defeat an imposter?
The real Ansem, Ansem the Wise, thought long gone that his students and guards went and betrayed him, probably under Xemnas' control. Spoilers, yeah, he did.
Oh, did you get that?
No!
And this is why in my last two Kingdom Hearts videos I kept saying Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, so you could get used to that title when this plot point showed up. But Ansem the Wise is still alive as the second most belted Square Enix character, Diz. And he's on a quest for revenge. Diz is also voiced by the late, great Christopher Lee. At the end of the game, Sora and Co find the organization's base of operation, the world that never was, thanks to clues left behind by Riku. And Axel, who just wants his best friend Roxas back, that doesn't excuse him for kidnapping Kairi and Pluto? What are you doing here? He keeps popping in and out of nowhere, going in and out of dark portals. You know, people talk about loose threads in the Kingdom Hearts series, but what is Nomura doing with Pluto, really? Axel feels bad for doing so, and Chaozu's himself to make up for it. Goodbye, Axel. See you in the next few games. Sora takes down the last of the lower organization members with help from the King, Kairi, and Riku. Riku looks like Xehanort's Heartless Ansem due to a confrontation he had with Roxas, where he had to submit to the darkness of Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, and decide that he would stay this way and not return, so that way his friends would be safe. But even then, he still thinks that he might not need to. But Ansem the Wise forced him into the scenario because he was on a self-destructive warpath and didn't care about anyone that was helping him achieve his goal. Ansem the Wise feels bad for putting everyone in harm's way, and with his Nomura beam blows a hole in this man-made Kingdom Hearts, dying in the process. This, however, turns Riku back into himself and is able to shed the dark robes and rejoin his friends. Xemnas says it's just a minor setback and says he will collect more. Sora and Riku put the stomp on him and end up in the End of Sea, where they decide to stay, until they get a bottle from Kairi that she sent at the beginning of the game, where she suddenly remembered his name but didn't write his name on it. And with that, they're able to fall back to Destiny Island and reunite with everyone, and everything's fine for a bit until Sora gets a message from the King that tells them to meet up with him in 4 games from now. Oh, long and convoluted plots. I did not miss you. I remember that a few times I got up to make myself something to eat or drink during some of these long cutscenes, since this is probably my 10th or 12th time beating this game. But Final Mix adds more cutscenes, and there are times when there is a lot of screen time that was just drawn out when I'd finish making my food and then finish eating it while the cutscene was still playing. It's not Metal Gear Solid bad, but there are times when the cutscenes run long, and if you aren't prepared for that, well, then I'm sorry. Now, don't misunderstand me. The game has a lot of style. The graphics were some of the best on the PS2, and this game, at times, has the same issues as Kingdom Hearts 1 with the graphics in-game models and cutscene models, but it's still noticeable at times. This game, if you can't take it for all the Nomura throws at you, which admittedly is a lot, then what's left is the gameplay, and oh my god, the gameplay. This gameplay is fantastic. Where the first game is very platform-oriented, trying to meet Mario 64 level of gameplay, it's now more of a linear progression, with exploration thrown out the window. What's left but the battle mechanics, and the battle mechanics are so much fun. This game adds something that most people don't like: QuickTime events. But Kingdom Hearts 2 does it really well. They are added in certain boss fights, and they are used multiple times to help with the gameplay. You have to utilize them, and if you either don't trigger them or don't time your moves right, then that fight just got a whole lot harder. My only gripe with fighting in this game is that bosses in this game have to have finishing moves done on them or hit with magic. I will say that in Kingdom Hearts 2, combat style, most if not all of my playthroughs were melee oriented, not magic. And that was fine, because of all the flippy attack helicopter things that Sora could do, that makes him much more versatile. And I've played the game on critical before, but I will say that I did use Thunder and Magnet. They were really useful in the game, especially in the newly introduced concept, the forms. Sora can turn into these forms based on certain circumstances. When met, he has the combat-oriented Valor form that requires Goofy to turn into, the magic-based Wisdom form that requires Donald that allows him to slide around and shoot magic bullets, the Master form requires 2 party members and gives Sora a crazy attack and magic powers as well as a double jump. New to Final Mix is the Limit form, that doesn't require any party members but costs 5 of the gauge that gives him his Kingdom Hearts 1 attacks, and heals him when he uses them. And Final form that requires 2 members as well, and more drive gauge that gives him increased magic and attack powers, as well as the gift of flight. Well, gliding. Sounds great, except there are times when you can go into an anti-form that gives Sora dark powers, and act very sporadic, but you can't heal or change back until the form runs out, or all the enemies are dead, which, taking the damage on bosses, you might as well start over. But on normal enemies, it's fine. When leveling up these forms, you can get their movement abilities. There's also limit commands that party members have that gives you up a super move. For the rest of your MP gauge, no matter how full, can be used to hit multiple enemies at once and doing some serious damage. Wait, what's that? Take a final blow during boss encounters triggers the king. Comes to save you and do some damage to the boss. He can't finish him off, but it's a nice thing to have since his lack of appearance in the first Kingdom Hearts game. He can even show up during the early parts of the final boss if you get taken down there. Summons are back, and they're about as useful as they were in the first game. You got Chicken Little, a returning genie, Stitch, and Peter Pan as summons this time around. Going into the game's world, like I said, they are very limiting, but there are some fun times going around dashing all around, and Glide is very nice and fluid, and I love doing it. And in some levels, it's crazy how Sora can move quickly on his feet.
Right into your mind. Deja vu, I've just been in this place before. Higher on the street, and I know it's my time to go. Going new, and the search is a mystery. Standing on my feet, it's so hard when I try to be me.
These areas can be a bit barren at times, and they do have treasure chests as well as the new to Final Mix puzzle pieces that help, but man, it really does help to use these movement abilities to get a move on. The combat, like I said before, is great, but it can be mindless slamming the X button with all these moves. Sora can take down all but a few that can juggle Sora around, and it's frustrating when it happens. I know, I can use magic abilities, but when my Keyblade does just as much as the magic abilities, the regular enemies I find myself skipping over and paying more attention during the boss fights. There's also the mini-games that are in 100 Acre Woods, the Gummy Ship, as well as Atlantica, and these are some okay time wasters. Pooh's world in particular has lost his memories, and thanks to his book being destroyed, and when you find his missing pieces, you get some great rewards, as well as, well, look at the lovable oaf, he lost his memories and he needs your help.
Pooh, you finally remembered.
Remembered what, Sora?
The Gummy Ship has seen a tremendous boost in gameplay. For this review, I didn't play too much other than what is required, but trust me when I say this one is miles ahead of Kingdom Hearts 1. Atlantica is a game of mindless, rhythm-based gameplay. You are rewarded for finishing it, but again, like I said, it's skippable. Just saying. After you beat the game, there are some mega bosses in this game. Lingering Will, which is the figure you see in the cutscene, but this fight is only in the Final Mix version, and to this day is still the only boss fight I have not beaten in any Kingdom Hearts game. I've tried on a few separate occasions to defeat him on Proud and Critical, because I'm a psycho, and I still haven't done it. I haven't fought him on a lower difficulty due to the fact that I don't normally play on any of these on less than Proud. Maybe a live stream, I don't know. Leave me a comment down below if you'd be interested. Sephiroth is back, and he is not as bad as Kingdom Hearts 1 Sephiroth, oh god no. Truth be told, Japanese players complained that Sephiroth was too hard to beat in Kingdom Hearts. You know you have a difficult boss when Japan is complaining about the difficulties. There's a series of organization fights that you can play at any time, including the ones from Chain of Memories. Finally, there's the Synthesis Shop, and it's back and bigger than before, getting some pretty cool items that you can get from farming enemies. Kingdom Hearts 2 as a whole is rough in some parts, but when this game shines, it's blinding. And I think that it's still one of the best games to ever come out on the PS2. If you don't feel like playing through the prologue every time you boot it up, you can always save a playthrough after the tutorial so you can jump right in. With this game being in the PS4's collection, it's more than the cost for the whole game, and this game specifically is one I go back to all the time. I think so far out of all the Kingdom Hearts games, this is the best one in the series, but we still have 4 more games in the lineup. Alright, so that was a lot to get through, and this will probably be one of my longest videos. But we shall see with Kingdom Hearts 3 Re-Mine, as it's being called, coming on the horizon. Depending on the way things go, I may have another Kingdom Hearts video out, or I might have a very heroic series be the next one in the lineup. So, once again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again real soon.